Students, this is the second lecture of chapter Chemistry in Everyday Life, and today we will study about the types of medicines with their functions and examples. So I start with the first medicine, that is antipyretics. Antipyretics. This is the medicine which is used to lower down body temperature. Which is used to lower down the body temperature in fever. All of you know? Clear? During the fever, when the temperature rises, then we use antipyretics. Okay. The examples are aspirin, PCM. You know PCM, paracetamol, and the last one is number 3, phenacetin. Remember the three examples. First one is aspirin, second paracetamol, third is phenacetin. Okay. So these are the three examples. Now listen, before I go to the next medicine, we have to study something about the aspirin. There is one fact, that is aspirin should not be taken in empty stomach. Just listen, what is the reason behind this? The formula of aspirin is OCOCH3. This is COOH. Remember, this is the structure of aspirin, and this is acetyl salicylic acid. Now listen, student. In the empty stomach, when our stomach is empty, there is lot of hydrochloric acid that is present in the stomach, due to which the medium of the stomach becomes acidic. I can say the medium is acidic, during which what happens, this acetyl salicylic acid, it undergoes hydrolysis. And what happens in hydrolysis, just understand, this bond breaks from this point. Clear? And here the hydrogen is added, this one. So this becomes, listen, O and H, and beta this remain as it is, COOH, and the byproduct is CH3COCl. That no need to study about the byproduct, but the compound formed is salicylic acid. This is the compound, salicylic acid, and this compound causes ulcers in stomach. So what is the reason behind this? Clear to all of you that what happens when stomach is empty, lot of HCl is present, due to which this aspirin, which is technically acetyl salicylic acid, it undergo hydrolysis forming salicylic acid that causes ulcers in the stomach. Now one more fact we have to study about the aspirin, that aspirin has a special property of anti-blood clotting. This is one of the special capability of aspirin, that it prevents the clotting of blood, due to the reason it also prevents heart attack. Understand? So this is all about beta antipyretics. Thing you have to remember, lower body temperature in fever. Three examples: aspirin, paracetamol, phenacetin. Regarding aspirin, two facts we have done: it prevents the heart attack, and secondly, it should not be used in the empty stomach. So now we'll shift to the second or next medicine, that is second one is analgesics. These are the medicines which reduces the pain. Sometimes the pain reduces, then these medicines, they will reduce the pain. Now these medicines, analgesics, these are of two types. Number one, narcotics analgesics. Second is non-narcotic analgesics. Now research both have the same function. This both they will reduce the pain in our body, but the meaning of narcotic analgesic means they reduce the pain with and sidewise induces sleep and unconsciousness, due to which this becomes the habit forming. Whereas non-narcotic, they does not induces sleep and unconsciousness. Therefore, these are not the habit forming. You know the meaning of this? So, as far as example is concerned, the first I start with the narcotic analgesics. The example are morphine, codeine, heroin, and the last one is marijuana. Clear to all of you? Now, as far as non-narcotic is concerned, we are having the example aspirin, number 1. Number 2, naproxen. Number 3, brufen, ibuprofen. Then diclofenac sodium. One more example, diclofenac potassium. So these are the examples, and one more important thing beta, these narcotics are habit forming, they induce the sleep and unconsciousness, whereas non-narcotic, they do not develop any sleep and unconsciousness. Remember these examples you have to learn. Now, we have seen one common example, that is aspirin. This will act as, remember, antipyretics as well as analgesics. And which type of analgesics? Non-narcotic analgesics. So this we have done the 2 type of medicines. Now the next one is, I'll study, that is antiseptics. Third medicine. All of you know about the term antiseptics. These are the medicines which are used to kill the microorganisms, without affecting body tissues. You know that this is a common term that we are using during some accident. We use the antiseptic. So what the main function of antiseptic? If this will be kept on particular cut, what happens? It simply kill the microorganism, but sidewise it does not affect our body tissues. Point clear? It kill the microorganism but does not affect our body tissues. Now the examples for this are, first one is, I start with bithionol. Second is Dettol. We have to learn the composition of some of the compounds. This Dettol is made up of chloro-xylenol and terpineol. Sometimes the examiner may ask that write the constituent of Dettol. The next one is tincture of iodine. This is 2 to 3% solution of iodine in alcohol water. Again, this you have to learn. Clear to all of you? The next examples are, you know that iodoform, hydrogen peroxide, H2O2, KMnO4. So we are having so many examples for that. Clear to all of you? That will act as antiseptic. And one more example that I will indicate specially here, 0.2% phenol. So how many examples are there? Just understand. Bithionol, Dettol, tincture of iodine, iodoform, hydrogen peroxide, KMnO4. And remember, Dettol is a mixture of chloroxylenol and you can say better is alpha terpineol. Okay, this one is alpha terpineol. Then tincture of iodine is 2 to 3%. In some cases, it may be 2 to 4% also. Doesn't make any difference. 2 to 4% is okay. Clear? A solution of iodine in alcohol and water. This is iodoform, hydrogen peroxide, KMnO4, and the last one is 0.2% of the phenol. Now the next is beta disinfectant. Next type of medicines are disinfectants. Now these disinfectants, they kill the microorganisms and simultaneously affects the body tissues. So what is the difference between these that you can say disinfectant and antiseptic? Antiseptic do not affect the body tissues, whereas disinfectant they will affect the body tissues. Now the examples are, first is chlorine 0.2 to 0.4 ppm. Listen student, you know that the water that comes from the water supply department to our houses, that is disinfected by the chlorine, and the ratio is for whatever the amount added is 0.2 to 0.4 ppm. Understand? Next examples are SO2 sulfur dioxide, thymol. This is again one of the example. Now one of the example that you know about Lysol, that is normally a floor cleaner. It is made up of cresols. Which compound? Cresols. So these are the four examples: chlorine 0.2 to 0.4 ppm, sulfur dioxide, thymol, and Lysol. Actually, Lysol is a brand name. Lysol is a brand name. Technically, it is made up of cresols. And one more compound that will act as disinfectant as well as, that is in the previous case we have done antiseptic. Remember, 1% phenol. This is the example of this disinfectant. Clear? So I tell you one more thing, that this phenol, this will act both as antiseptic as well as disinfectant. Just see, phenol, when it is 0.2% and when it is 1%. 0.2% it will act as antiseptic, 1% act as disinfectant. Understand now? So how to learn this is very simple. When the percentage is more, it will act as disinfectant. When the percentage is less, it will act as antiseptic. Clear to all of you? So this is about the disinfectant that we have done. The next one is antimicrobial. Next type of medicines are antimicrobials. Now listen, what are these medicines? These are the medicines which are used to treat infections due to microorganisms such as bacteria, virus, fungi, etc., etc. Okay, so before we study the example, you know that whenever these substances they will, you can say, enter inside the body, then what happens? We need some type of medicines which are said to be the antimicrobials. Here they will act against the microorganism. Now how they will act? How they act, or what is their mode of function? They will function in three ways, beta. Number one, the word static. Second word is sidal. Third word is immunity. Proper word if I will write, first I will write bacteriostatic. Second is bactericidal. And third one is immunity development. So what is the meaning of bacteriostatic? In the meaning static, static means stop. So what happens? They stop the life cycle of microorganisms. Life cycle means they do not develop. Clear? And if they will not develop, they will stay here at the same level, so automatically they will be die after some time. Clear? So first point is they stop the life cycle of microorganism. Bactericidal means they directly kill the microorganism. Here the word cidal, it's something like suicide, you can say the cidal word. Third is immunity development. This is very important. This, they will increase the immunity against microorganisms. So this is the three way that your antimicrobial they will act. Number one, they will either stop the life cycle of the microorganism. Secondly, they will kill the microorganism, and third, they will increase the immunity against the microorganism. And these microorganisms they will include bacteria, virus, fungus. Clear to all of you now? As far as examples are concerned, I'll write the example here, or simply I'll remove it now. This one. The examples are common examples: sulfur drugs or sulfonylamides. Listen, we have done I have discussed this during the classification, various mode of classification, that the drug which are having the same chemical structure. So what are sulfur drugs or sulfonilamide? They will have the same common structure. Clear to all of you? That we have discussed. So what are the examples? Sulfur drug or sulfonilamides. The examples are sulfadiazine. First example is sulfadiazine. Second example comes out to be sulfapyridine. So this is clear to all of you regarding that is antimicrobial against the microorganisms. Clear? They will act in three ways. Either they will stop the life cycle. Second, they will kill the microorganism. Third, they will increase the immunity in the body against the microorganisms. Now the next type of medicine is anti-malarials. Next type of medicines are anti-malarials. But all of you know about the malaria fever. Clear? During malaria, what happens? A fever is repeated again and again. So these medicines they will reduces body temperature during malaria fever. Am I clear to all of you? They will reduces the body temperature during malaria fever. As far as examples are concerned, first quinine, chloroquine, primarquine. Three examples are clear to all of you. One more you can say, that is paraquine. Clear? The same similarity, quinine, queen. This is the similarity or same pattern regarding the anti-malaria medicine or drugs. Now the next one is anesthetics. Next type of medicine or drugs, anesthetics. Now what are anesthetics? Remember during surgery, the doctor normally injects some chemical in our body due to which the sensibility of our body completely vanishes. Then doctor easily perform the surgery. So what are anesthetics? These are the medicine which induces insensibility in the body. This is of two types. Number one, local anesthetics. Local means that a particular part is anesthetized. Clear? Means you can say the sensibility of a particular part is lost. This is the loss of sensibility of a particular part, just like you can say hand, just like a finger, I can say the leg, etc. Means whole body insensibility is not there. And sometimes in the big surgeries, the insensibility of the whole body is required. That is said to be the your general anesthetics. General anesthetics. What happens? Here the loss of sensibility of complete body. So this is clear to all of you, the meaning of that is particularly say local anesthetics and general anesthetics. Now as far as example is concerned, chloroform cocaine. Clear to all of you? Now this we have done anesthetics. Now the next one is antihistamine. Next type of medicine is antihistamines, also said to be anti-allergic medicines. Now listen student, what happens that in our body during a particular biochemical reaction, suppose the reaction is this one, that your substrate combined with the enzyme and the product formed is histamine. What is the product? Histamine. So during a biochemical reaction, if histamine is formed, clear to all of you, what is formed? Histamine. Then what happens? This histamine, it develops allergic reactions in the body. What it develops? It develops allergic reaction in the body such as rashes, itching, redness, etc., etc. So this is the process I have told you, how the allergic reactions or allergic responses they will develop. Allergic reactions, or I can say allergic responses. Okay, so what this medicine does? This medicine stop the formation of histamine. What it does? Stop the formation of histamine due to allergic reactions or allergic responses are stopped, and our body is free from rashes, itching, redness, etc., etc. So what the complete definition is? Anti-allergic or antihistamines, these are the medicines which reduces the formation of histamine in the body. You can also write one more definition, which reduces allergic responses in the body. Clear to all of you? Now as far as examples are concerned, one of the common examples are cetirizine. You know about cetirizine? Clear? It is a most common antihistamine that we are using. Then cetirizine. Next example, promethazine. First cetirizine, second promethazine. Then comes out to be chlor. Now listen student, this cetirizine can also be said to be the Avil, that small tablet we are using. But listen, Avil is the brand name, so no need to write the Avil. You will write water, cetirizine, chlorpheniramine. Third example. So remember this, I repeat the example because these are some typical words. Cetirizine, promethazine, chlorpheniramine, and one more, diphenyl. Remember the word diphenyl hydramine. Clear to all of you? So what are the four examples? Number one, cetirizine, promethazine, chlorpheniramine, and beta number 4 is diphenyl hydramine. Clear to all of you? And listen student, you know that Benadryl, that is a medicine we are using, that is also this antihistamine. But Benadryl, Avil, these are the brand names, and in this chapter the brand names they will not work. You have to write their particular chemical names. So I think clear to all of you, antihistamines or anti-allergic medicines. Next comes out to be Antacids. The next type of medicines are, listen students, antacids. Now what are antacids? Listen students. During you know that in our stomach concentrated HCl is present. I'll start from this point. In our stomach, what is present? Concentrated HCl. Clear? If the amount of HCl increases, what happens? If the amount of HCl increases, then you can say the acidity occurs and the pH decreases. This particular feeling is said to be the acidity, or to what the medicine does, antacid. It simply increases the pH. What it does? Simply increases the pH. What happens? Clear to all of you? Sometimes the amount of HCl increases in our body, in our stomach, due to which the acidity occurs and the pH decreases. So the antacids, they will just overcome this effect, and what will they do? These antacids, these are the medicines which decreases the which increases the pH in the stomach. Clear to all of you? If the the pH increases, then automatically the acidic behavior decreases. Clear? So in one line you will write what are antacids which increases the pH in the stomach. Understand? Now, as far as examples are concerned, baking soda, the formula is NaHCO3. All of you know baking soda, NaHCO3. Second, magnesium hydroxide we can use. Clear? Magnesium carbonate can also be used as that particular antacids. Next, sometimes magnesium oxide is also used. Why? Because this magnesium oxide convert into magnesium hydroxide in the presence of water. There is the same reason. Okay, so three examples are baking soda, NaHCO3, magnesium magnesium hydroxide, magnesium carbonate, magnesium oxide, and the next examples are cimetidine. These are the latest examples. Fourth example is cimetidine. I'll write the fifth here. Fourth cimetidine. Fifth one is ranitidine. Then omeprazole. Clear to all of you? Ranitidine, omeprazole, cimetidine, all these are the examples of antacid. Now I will discuss the two things. First, you know that ranitidine and cimetidine. What? The question that I want to discuss is right here. Ranitidine and cimetidine, they have the advantage over, you can say this, they have the advantage over these, you can say NaHCO3 or magnesium hydroxide, or you can say why these are preferred, advantage over, or you can say these are preferred. Now what is the reason behind this? Just see out the one thing. Listen student, I will tell you one more thing. Before this we have discussed that particular antihistamines. What we have discussed? Antihistamines. Clear to all of you? So histamine chemical, if histamine chemical is developed or formed in our body, clear, then this develop the allergic reactions. Clear to all of you? But this histamine also induces formation of HCl in stomach. Clear to all of you? What it does? It also induces the formation of HCl in the stomach. Clear to all of you? So what happens? These medicine, ranitidine and cimetidine, they stop the formation of histamine, due to which less amount of HCl is secreted, and obviously the level of HCl decreases and pH automatically increases. This thing is clear to all of you? So these are preferred due to the same reason, because they will prevent the formation of histamine, which has the ability to induce the formation of HCl. That is the main cause of the acidity. And if the histamine is reduced, then the formation of HCl decreases, amount of HCl decreases, and obviously the acidity will be controlled. So this is one fact that I want to discuss regarding ranitidine and cimetidine. Clear to all of you now? Now this is all about that particular antacid. Question arises, which is one of the most common antacid, baking soda or NaHCO3. In recently what we are using cimetidine, ranitidine. Clear? Omeprazole, that is the same one. Now the next type of medicines after antacids. Now I shift to the next medicines, that is antibiotics. Listen, what are these medicines? These are the medicines or chemical substances which are produced by the microorganisms and either kill or stop the life cycle of other microorganisms. You got the definition? Means these are the chemicals which are prepared by microorganism, MO. They have prepared antibiotics, and these antibiotics, they will either kill or stop the life cycle of other microorganisms. This is very important. Clear to all of you? So these are said to be the inactive part of living microorganisms. Now this is antibiotics, but how these antibiotics work? What is the mode of action? So this antibiotic, they will work in two phases. Number one, bactericidal. Second is bacteriostatic. This we have discussed in case of that is antimicrobial. Same here. What is the meaning of bactericidal? Means they will kill the microorganism. And what is bactericidal? They will stop the life cycle of microorganism. Am I clear to all of you? Now as far as examples are concerned, for bactericidal we are having the example penicillin. Penicillin. This is the example of bactericidal. And as far as bacteriostatic, we are having the example chloramphenicol. What is the example? Chloramphenicol. Listen students, I also want to tell you one thing, that this penicillin, I write here, this penicillin was the first antibiotic prepared from Penicillium notatum. Clear to all of you now? So before I go to the remaining part of antibiotic, just see these are the chemicals which are produced by the microorganism, and they will affect, means they will kill or stop the life cycle of other microorganisms. Mode of action is clear: bactericidal, bacteriostatic. Bactericidal, penicillin; bacteriostatic, chloramphenicol. Penicillin, it was the first developed antibiotic from Penicillium notatum. Now the types of antibiotics. These antibiotics are basically, we divide it into three categories. First, broad spectrum antibiotics. Second, narrow spectrum antibiotics. And the last one is limited spectrum antibiotics. So first I will tell you that we have classified this on what basis? We have classified these types of antibiotics on the basis of range of organisms affected. Listen student, you have to know, you know that these antibiotics, they have to either kill the microorganisms or they have to stop their life cycle. So on how many microorganisms they are affecting or how many microorganisms they will kill, on that basis we will divide them into three categories: broad spectrum antibiotics, narrow spectrum and limited spectrum antibiotics. But before it, one more thing I want to tell you, that is, I write here spectrum of antibiotics. What does it mean? It simply means the range of microorganisms affected by antibiotics. Means that particular antibiotic kills how many types of bacteria or how many types of microorganisms, that is said to be the range. So broad spectrum antibiotics, it means those antibiotics which are effective against large number of microorganisms. Clear? Now listen student, I want to tell you one thing, that normally these antibiotics, they are used against, normally we can say used against virus also, but in case of bacteria they are normally used. The bacteria, they are of two types. I write here, we will divide the bacteria into two types. Remember, gram positive bacteria, this I write this one, gram positive bacteria, and second one is gram negative bacteria. So first I have written that these are effective against large number of microorganisms. Now as far as bacteria is concerned, broad spectrum antibiotic, they are effective against both gram positive and gram negative bacteria. Am I clear to all of you? Now as far as example is concerned, that is, you can write, or simply I'll write here, write simply, okay. Now as far as example is concerned, the examples are ofloxacin. Remember, this is the most common antibiotic that a doctor gave us during a particular viral fever or bacterial infection. Because this is a broad spectrum antibiotics, this will affect a large number of microorganisms or both gram positive and gram negative bacteria. Second example is chloramphenicol. Second is chloramphenicol. Third example is tetracycline. So before I go to the narrow spectrum, broad spectrum is clear to all of you. These are affected against a large number of microorganisms. Clear to all of you. Now the narrow spectrum, these are the antibiotics which are effective against limited number of microorganisms. That is, they either, in case of bacteria, affect gram positive or gram negative. Remember this word either. Clear? They do not work or they do not affect both type of bacteria. They will affect either the gram positive bacteria, either the gram negative bacteria. And remember the example, penicillin. The example is penicillin. I'll write here also penicillin. Clear? So what is the difference? This will be effective against a large number of microorganisms. They will be effective against a limited number of microorganisms. Or I want to once more, these broad spectrum antibiotics, they are having the large spectrum. And what about narrow spectrum antibiotics? They will have a narrow spectrum. But what will be the third category, that is limited spectrum? These are the antibiotics which are effective against a particular microorganisms. Remember the word, against a particular microorganisms. organism. So they will have a limited spectrum. Which type of spectrum? Limited. And you know spectrum, it is the range of microorganism affected by the antibiotics. So this is all about the antibiotics. Now I'll shift to the next one, that is tranquilizers. Next type of medicines are tranquilizers. These are the medicines which are used to treat stress, strain, fatigue, and mental diseases. Now, students, this stress is now become one of the important part, or you can say one of the negative part of our body, that we are stressed again and again. Clear? So during the stress, what happens that our body functioning is reduced. So these are, and sometimes it will be increased to high level also. So these are the medicines which are used to treat the stress, strain, fatigue, and in some mental diseases. Clear to all of you? The example that you have to learn are Ipronazid. Remember the example is Ipronazid. Second example you will write Phenelzine. Now listen, these tranquilizers, these are also sometimes called as psychotherapeutic drugs. Why psychotherapeutic drugs? I tell you one thing. Suppose we are in the feeling of stress. Clear? Then obviously our mood will be, you can say that particular not a good mood, we are in a bad mood. Then what will I take? I'll take tranquilizer, that is Ipronazid or Phenelzine. Then what happens? Our body becomes passive towards feelings. Passive, you understand? Our body will respond to, you can say, change our mood, change our feelings. Clear to all of you? Normally, you know that when we are in stress, then we are not in a proper body position, that we are not express ourselves, and we are, you can say, that particularly stressed. After this disease, after taking the medicine, the stress becomes reduced, and we feel happy due to the loss of stress. So our mood gets changed, our psychology gets changed. Therefore, these drugs are also said to be the psychotherapeutic drugs, because they will make us passive toward the feeling, or they will, you can say, change our mood. But listen one thing, what are their definitions? Definition, be clear. They are used against these reasons: stress, strain, fatigue, and mental diseases. As far as example is concerned, you have to learn Ipronazid and Phenelzine. Why these are psychotherapeutic drugs? Because they will make us passive toward the feeling, and they'll change our mood. Clear? So these are sometimes said to be the mood changing drugs also. Clear? Okay, the next one is now antidepressants. Antidepressants. These are the medicines which are used to treat depression. Clear to all of you? Which are used to treat depression. Now I have to study what is the meaning of depression. Now this one. Explanation. Our body functions in a particular way. What the functions are, just see out. This is our central nervous system, which include brain plus nerves. Clear? This central nervous system, this sends the messages to different body parts. Clear? These messages are transferred via neurotransmitters. Via neurotransmitter, that is noradrenaline. This is one of the most important neurotransmitter, noradrenaline. Clear to all of you? This noradrenaline transfer the message to body part, and body part then functions according to message. Or you can can say simply one thing, that if I am doing the work right now, my hand is going up and down, that also is due to a message that is coming from our brain and nerves via noradrenaline to my head, and this particular work goes on. Now what happened during depression? Listen, during depression the level of noradrenaline decreases. What happens? The level of noradrenaline decreases, due to which the message transfer process also reduces. Clear? And due to this is ultimately what happens, the body parts receives very less messages, due to which their activity decreases, and there comes a feeling of laziness. What comes? Feeling of laziness. Clear? The patient becomes passive. पड़ा रहेगा ना कुछ काम करेगा. He will do nothing. Why? Because his body doesn't get any message from the central nervous system. Why he doesn't get the message? Because in the body the level of noradrenaline, that is a neurotransmitter which transfers the message directly from our brain to the body part, decreases, which directly affect message transfer process, decreases, due to which the body part receive very less number of messages, the activity of body part decreases, and body will feel, or you can say the laziness in the body increases. This is said to be the depression. What is this now? This condition is said to be the, you can say, depression. Now, how the antidepressant acts? Opposite. These antidepressants, they will increase the level of noradrenaline. Clear to all of you? Now I will write how these antidepressant acts. They increase the level of noradrenaline, due to which the message transfer process increases, the number of messages received by the body increases, body activity increases, and obviously the laziness decreases. What will say? The laziness decreases. Clear to all of you? So this is the way how the antidepressant acts. Now, as far as examples are concerned, just note it down. The examples are, first the previous one, ipronazid. The same example that we have done in case of tranquilizers also. Second one is phenelzine. Third example you can write Veronal. Fourth, Seconal. Okay, so this is clear to all of you, 4 examples. Clear? So this is the way how the antidepressant acts. Now next we will discuss sedatives. Next type of medicines are sedatives. These are the drugs or medicines. Sedatives, you know, they will simply decreases our body activity. They simply what? They simply decreases, or you can say suppresses the body activity. Clear to all of you? Due to which the laziness in the body increases. Clear to all of you? And this feeling is said to be the depression. Or you can say these are the medicines. No, not the medicine. These are particularly, sometimes we have to use sedative also. These are the sedatives or the medicines which induces depression. Am I clear to all of you? So two things you will write. Either you will write which induces the depression, or you will write which suppresses the body activity, or which increases the laziness in the body. Now as far as their examples are concerned, barbiturates. First example are barbiturates. Second example you will write Valium. Valium. Clear to all of you? So this is all about that particular sedatives. Now the next one we will do, that is neurologically active drugs. Now listen, before I start this drug, I'll tell you one thing. This is our central nervous system. This contains brain plus nerves. This central nervous system, this you can say send signals or messages to the various body parts. This whole process occurs in our body in a particular way, and this is said to be the, you can say, the method by which the messages are sent between the central nervous system and the body part. If any medicine affect the message transfer mechanism between central nervous system and body part. Clear to all of you? इस पूरे mechanism को, if the mechanism is disturbed, or you can say somewhat effect on this comes out to be any medicine that is said to be neurologically active drugs. In this we can include analgesics. These analgesics, these are just used to reduce the pain. How they will reduce the pain? They will stop the message of pain that comes from the brain to the body part. Simply the message is stopped, or the message is not received. Clear to all of you? That is the reason we do not know the feeling of pain. Suppose in the body part there is a pain. Clear? So the message from this body part to the brain does not go. That particular means the pain of feeling will up to this body part, and the brain will not get this feeling. Clear? Second, tranquilizer. Again, tranquilizer, they will do the same thing. They will also affect this mechanism, due to which the body becomes highly inactive. During the stress, what happens? Our body activity sometimes increases so fast, then the doctor will inject an injection, tranquilizer, and our body feels very passive. So what the injection does, it simply affects this message transfer mechanism between the brain and the body, or you can say reduces the mechanism. So all these type of medicines which affect the message transfer mechanism between the central nervous system and the brain, these are said to be the neurologically active drugs. Clear to all of you? Now the next and the last one are anti-fertility drugs. Wait a minute. Anti-fertility drugs. Now, what are anti-fertility drugs? These are the medicines which are just used to control pregnancies in women. Now, how this occurs? They simply stop a process that is said to be ovulation in women. Clear? What they will do? They simply stop a process of ovulation in the women. Clear? If this process stops, then pregnancy will not occur in case of women. Clear to all of you? So examples are, there are two examples that we are using commonly: Novestrol. Second example is mifepristone. Now one more thing, students, that how these medicines they will stop the ovulation. You know that there are two hormones, estrogen and progesterone. These are the two hormones, clear to all of you, which has the ability to stop the ovulation. So these medicines, these contain both these hormones. Clear to all of you? Novestrol and these, they contain estrogen and progesterone, and what they will do, they simply stop the ovulation, and if ovulation is stopped, then the pregnancy will not occur in case of women. So all these type of medicines which control the pregnancies in women, they are said to be the anti-fertility drugs. Clear to all of you? Now, this all we have done regarding the types of medicines with their functions and examples. Clear? Students, learn these examples. Clear? Because without the example there is no meaning of definition. Secondly, sometimes you have to identify the drug or medicine on the basis of the examples. So this is all about that is type of drugs with their examples and functions. That's all.